Welcome everybody for this one more episode of our UI Bootcamp. My name is Eduardo, and today we're going to talk a little bit about Foundation Grid System. So for the ones that doesn't know what Foundation is a framework that helps you to build UI for your website. So you're gonna be able to deal with lots of components that are already pre-built for you, such as the grid that we're going to be talking about, off canvas, top bar, site nav, thumbnails, and lots of other things that you can have in order to help you to build a good UI presentation for your website. So the idea here is to talk just a little bit about the foundation grid. It's because the grid is a really important tool available in Foundation because it helps us to build responsive design websites. Okay, so it's prepared already to give you a mechanism for you to build a app with it for a small screen, such as a smartphone or a tablet or even a larger screens. So that's the idea here, is that we can explore this amazing feature. So if we remember in the past that in the beginning that we didn't have things like this, things would be very hard to develop. So the proposal here is to make it easier for us in developing this. Okay, so we are talking about grid, but what is a grid at all? So grid is a concept that we're going to use by dividing our UI into horizontal and vertical columns. So the first thing that we can think about is, like, for example, the chess table. So that table that you can play chess. So if you remember that, you're gonna see that you have a square, and that square is divided into horizontally, right? And also it's divided vertically. So the idea here is the same. It's a way for you to divide these two ways your page, and then you can paste your content whatever you think it's better. So when we talk about rows, we define that we have the class row. The class row is going to divide our page horizontally. Okay, so when you have a horizontal division in your page, you can opt by dividing it in different columns. The columns will divide our page vertically. And the Foundation also gives for us lots of default classes, default values, default variables. So one thing that is a default and is very important to know for us in the grid is that the row can have 12 columns. So nothing more than 12. You can have from 1 to 12 columns. Okay, so you will have something between these numbers here. You can't have more than this unless you go and change the default properties of your foundation. All right, so when I say that we have a mechanism to treat different screen sizes, I'm saying that when I have a row, I can divide that row based on the small screens, also on medium screens, and at the end I can also divide in the larger screens. So here I would say a number, something from 1 to 12, and the same thing will apply here. It will be something like that. But some people say that, for example, Foundation is a mobile first. And why they say this? Because it brings you the concept that you should start developing your responsive design by your by the small screens. So by doing this, you will be able to later change it easily the way that you're going to construct your layout. And also, when you define that something is going to be small, I mean, a column will be small, this small value is going to be inherited by the medium and large screens. I will show some examples to make it clearer for you guys. But for now, let's keep in mind this part here that we just try to explore here, just the basic concepts. Okay, so as we have a reminder when we are developing something. So to start here, to give you one example, a row, so you can see what is this. We're going to build a div with the class row, okay? And inside this row, we can have like maybe we can have just the beginning. Let's say that we are gonna have a small 6 columns, right? We can have another one. Okay, so by doing this, I'm saying that I'm dividing my page in a one row horizontally, and vertically, I would like to have 2 columns. I'm saying 2 columns because, as if you remember, we have 12 at the toppest number of columns that we can have. So when I say that I want columns that will have 6 columns, I will have one column with 6 and another one with 6. I can't like insert here, for example, a 9 column, because then I would be 6 plus 9, I would have more than 12. So that won't work. So if I define that I'm dividing my row in 6, I will have to divide here a 6 as well. If I divide here as 3, I can divide it, for example, in 9, and so on. So just to begin, let's just give this example. Let's save and let's refresh our page. So nothing happens, right? Because I have nothing to see, then you're not going to see anything. But if I put some content in there, such as a text like that, you're going to see that now I have my row split into columns. Okay, so as I was telling, if I want to have, now I want to have a 3 columns here, and also want to have a 3 columns here. So now I only occupy 6 columns, right? So that means I can also have some more columns in here. I can have some 4 columns total. So now you can see that our page will have 4 columns. You can basically stretch the page, you're gonna see that it always have 4 columns. It doesn't matter the screen size. But if you go back to the code, you're gonna realize that I only define that I have small columns. So that's where comes the concept I told you guys about the mobile comes first. If I define it as small, all the other screen sizes will inherit this behavior. So just to try to make it clear, let's say that now, instead of for medium screen sizes, I may want this as a 2 maybe. Let's do it different. Let's say I want it to have 6. And I also want to have another 6. Let's just keep it simple. Let's just keep it this way. So now, so let me see. What we're gonna have is for small screens, we have 3. Oh, sorry, we have 2 columns. Of course, here we divide it in 3, right? So, but of course, I don't have any other column here inside. So that's why you have an empty here. But there is a space for another column here. But then if you go to medium, you're going to see that it's large. You're going to see that it's divided by only 2 columns. Why? Because I said that my column will occupy in medium screens 6 columns. right? And this other one will occupy another 6 columns. Okay, so you have to think about this as I always can divide it in 12, but when I say median 6, I'm saying that here is going to have 6 columns, and here another 6 columns. This here tries to display this concept, like it's a tool that you can visualize how our foundation divides our grid. So you can install this for you guys to have an idea later. Okay, so basically that's what we have here. So you can think that this is not good because you have an empty space here, but Foundation gives you lots of classes such as end. So that means that although I have only 2 columns here in small, I want to have 3 columns, but I only have content for 2. I want to end my grid in here, so I would waste this part here. So it's just a matter for you to say that I don't want that space in the middle. But anyway, you can divide your screen in many ways that you want. So for example, I can also say that I want small 1 columns, right? And sorry, let me see. Yeah, I can also say this, right? So that means I can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 columns for small. Of course, it's not going to display right because the screen is too small, but you can basically see what's happening when it goes to different screen size. The example here was not very clear because I have too many text here, but it's visible that you can divide your screen into 12 columns top. Okay, so let's just refresh this page and get it clear again. So just reminding them, we have the small for a small screen, medium for medium screens, and large for larger screens. For our purpose of our presentation here, we're going to also to make use of our class called panel. But this panel has nothing to do with our grid system. This is just a way for you to visualize better what's happening on the page when you divide it. So this is the most basic things that I would like to tell you guys that exists for you to build your app. I would like now to invite you guys to try to develop a very simple e-commerce web page here, an e-commerce where you can browse your products. It's going to be something very simple. So since Avenue Code is giving us this UI bootcamp with lots of talks, let's imagine that Avenue Code decided to sell these talks now. Now it's going to have a store, a web store, and you're going to be able to buy these talks if you want. So let's try to lay out this page here for small screen sizes, and then we can think about something that goes for other screens. For example, our page here, the first thing that we could think about here is about our header. So we're going to have basically here at the top, we're going to have a header with an image in the side. We're going to have a search form here. And also we're going to have the catalog of products in here. So let's start with the header. And let's say that I want to divide my page into a row. And I want this page to have in small 12 columns. That means I will make use of panel. The panel is just a matter of giving this for us guys. We have this colored square here that represents that we have, although we are dividing it in 12 columns for small. So since I have only one thing on this column, right? I have only one component here, and I'm saying I want to have 12 columns. So this component will occupy the whole line here because I have a line and I am saying I want to divide this into 12 columns. Okay, so 12 columns will occupy all the columns here. So that's how it will work. One thing that we can think about here, so now that we have a panel, I can think about like having a row for this panel. Okay, so every time you have a row, you can decide how many columns you want to divide it. I will say that I want to divide this guy here into, I want 3 columns, right? Okay, and then here I have some images that I already pasted before. And then let's say I want to have an image on our header. So we have our Icon Code logo for this guy. And well, maybe, so since I have 3 columns here, I will have I will have this division here and this division here, then I will have 1 slot, 1, 2, and 3 slots. Of course, I don't have any other content for fill those 2 gaps here, but it's not our goal here. But you can see that if all the other rows that they will fit in the left side, okay? But maybe we want to have this centralized. So this is something that we can make use by, there's a class, Foundation offer us lots of help class. We can say that we want to have, sorry, I believe we can centralize this guy here. I think it's a small centered. Let's see if that will work. See? Now I can easily have it aligned in the middle. So now we don't have to make it manually anymore. We have this helper class here that helps us to make this part. Okay, so one thing else. So this is a row. Okay, I said that I want to divide into 12 columns because I want to have all these guys here occupying one slot, and in the middle of this I want to have this guy here centralized. Okay, so continue with our page. We also said that we want to have a form that we're gonna search for any products or categories or whatever. Of course, our form here is not gonna have any action, but we are gonna be able to at least visualize that you are part of this. So again, I will have another row, all right? And this row, I may want to have it like, let's think about like in a search input. So we can have, for example, a small 10 columns, right? And inside this small 10 columns, we can have a input type text. Should be text, that's okay. Let's put a placeholder in here. And let's say for the user type here to search. Okay. Yeah. It was a mistype here. So yeah, we have at least we have an input here. You can type whatever you want to search about, right? But we can also have another column here that will say column 2 because we already have a 10 division of this guy on this row, and now we only have 2 slots missing. Okay, so we have this guy, and in this guy here we can have something like an input. The foundation also, you can define buttons with button, or you can define buttons with A classes, sorry, A tags. So you can have something like go, oops, sorry, button, and then go. Of course, it won't display very nicely because we had some we have to make some tricks when we are dealing with form components. So those tricks there are very well explained on the foundation page. It's not our goal here, but we can make use of, for example, a postfix class, which is going to make it the size of our row. Also, is going to give some sizing on our component here. One thing that it doesn't do is, like, you can see here that we have a spacing between them. For this, we can make use of our class called collapse, and then we have that guy that way. But this is something that we can see later. We can see in another talk. We can talk about those helpers. All right. So if you go further, we can talk about our catalog of products. So for that, I will divide another row, and I will say I want to have a small 12 columns here in this guy. Yeah, and let's type it again, columns. Okay, one more time. So nothing happened because I don't have any content. So let's say that our business team has said that I want to have, in small screens, I want to have 2 thumbnails, one here and one here, one here and one here, one here and one here. So I want to have two columns and 2 thumbnails. So we can continue using this approach here by dividing row and columns like we're doing here, okay? But since thumbnails are components that we know that they needs to be evenly spaced, Foundation also offered us another kind of grid. So this grid is called the block grid, because the block grid has this feature, has this characteristic. You can have things evenly spaced on the page. So for this, we can use a UL, and we're going to say small block grid 2. Okay, and then we can have an li for our guys, and here we have an image for our thumbnail. All right, so we can define it this way. I think the Ctrl-Shift-D. Yes, that's not very good. Okay, we can go manually and put maybe 6 products in our grid. Okay, so now you can see that I have 6 thumbnails to each side. Okay, so they will occupy even space in a very simple way. I just defined it here. How many columns I want for our block grid in the small sizes. So the thing is, if I stretch the page, I will continue having 2 columns, right? But maybe our business team wants to say, for medium screens, I want to have block grid 3 columns. Let's see if that will work. I believe that's it. So see, now for medium screens, and it's going to have for larger screens also, we'll have 3 columns. And here in small screen, we'll have 2 columns. For larger screens, our business team has said that we're going to have 4 columns. Well,
take the remote.
Turn the volume up or something. Just 2.
Yeah,
it's good.
Good. Okay, so it looks like it wants me to finish my talk. Okay, so now we have the floor. For a larger screen, we're supposed to see 4 in our screen. So this is medium with 3, and now I'm supposed to have 4. Oh, yeah, that didn't work. So we can try to see if I mistyped something. Large block grid 4. Large block grid 4. Oh, if I'm not wrong, I remember when I was checking this out, I remember that we need to also define, so to those block grids work fine, we need to have um, the image size here defined, such something like maybe an inline code like with a um, maybe I don't know, maybe 200 pixels, maybe. Let's see if that was a problem. Let me see if that will fix a problem here. Yeah, that will fix, because it's this image. This image can enlarge itself. So I need to define the size so the grid knows how to block the columns for you. Otherwise, the image can increase whenever it's necessary. But anyway, that's how we have this guy here. Okay, so now we have this block guy. Just a plus on our content here. We're gonna say that. So let me see. So here is the header. Here's the search box, and here between the search and between our catalog of products. Let's imagine that I want to have. I want to have another row here, and our guy here will be 12 columns again. So it will be a column that will occupy all the space of the row. Okay, so let's imagine it here is not going to be an image, but let's imagine that this is an image. Okay, so I will have here maybe a H2. I don't know, 70% off on all talks. Okay, I think that's it. Let's imagine that this is a banner. So just make it different of our, I will use this class here, which will change the background color. So let's imagine that this guy here is a banner, this way here. But also let's imagine that this guy here is an image. So here I am stretching the page, I'm shrinking the page, and it's going well on the page. But as you know, an image can be something that's going to not fit well on a smaller screen. So if that would be the cause, we could make use of other helpful classes, such as we're going to hide for small. Okay, so for a small screen, I'm not going to see that content. So for medium and for large, now I will see that content. So for mobile development, especially when we already have a content for desktop, we use a lot this strategy of collapsing things, not displaying things. So Foundation offers us lots of classes such as this. So for example, if we go to, I think it's visibility. If we go to this link here, right? And let's just take a look very quickly. So if we go here, we can see that Foundation is very flexible. So we're gonna show content only if it's only for a small screen, for medium and large, for only medium, and so on, as you can see here. So all these contents here are examples. But this is show for a small screen, but also you can think about hiding for a small screen. So it's the opposite. You also have this option. And also have this option here, which is sometimes cool that you want to show something specifically for landscape positioning. So orientation actually. So if you have portrait orientation, then you can use this call here, this class here. So if you take a look in the foundation, it will offer you lots of ways for you to deal with contents or layouts on your page. One thing that I would say, and this is my personal opinion, I don't like much. It's because nowadays we have, since we have HTML5 and all that, how can I say, semantic, like for example, you can have an article and inside you can have a header, right? And so on. You can have like maybe a nav. Anyway, so as you see, HTML5 is very semantic. So one thing that I don't like by using those frameworks like Foundation is that it kind of misses that semantic here. Of course, you can use this along with HTML5 tags, but you can see that it brings you lots of classes, and it's mandatory you follow a certain standard, like a row can be divided in columns, things like that. So this is one of the side sidebacks I think it will happen. Another one, of course, Foundation will add some. It will add some. How can I say, some weight in your page? So you're gonna have to download the content on your page whenever you access that. But of course, we're not free of those things when you want something easy. But that's where basically what I want to say about the grid layout system. It's very basic thing here, but I think it may help you guys a lot when you're building your page. My project here and the Clyde use Foundation, and I remember in the beginning when I joined the project, I didn't have any experience in that, and I have a hard time to centralize the logo in the top of the page. But now I see that it's very, very, very simple, and I don't need to worry about that anymore. Okay, guys, so I hope you liked, and if you have questions, I'm happy to try to answer